So we're going to talk about the energy pyramid, and you have probably seen an energy pyramid before. In fact, if you are on page 358, there's a beautiful energy pyramid there. And it says that an energy pyramid is a tool that can be used to trace the flow of energy through an ecosystem. Now, we've talked about the flow of energy through an ecosystem before in food chains and food webs. We said that those arrows represent the flow of energy through an ecosystem. So you could actually be given a energy pyramid and you could create a food chain from that pyramid. So for example, if I was given this pyramid, I could create a food chain by putting grass, and the energy from the grass goes into the grasshopper, and the energy from the grasshopper goes into, I think that's a mole, and the energy from the mole goes into the owl. So that is a food chain. Now, I could just as easily take a food chain and put it into a pyramid. Okay, so you can use these. They show very similar things. They both show the flow of energy through an organism, through a ecosystem. And so we're going to look at our diagram, and it has trophic levels. We said when we were talking about autotroph and heterotroph, we said that troph means feeder. So it literally means the feeder levels or the feeding levels. And all of our energy is originated from the sun. So the sun is drawn on here. It won't always be, but on this particular one, I like that they draw the sun, and then they show an arrow going from the sun to this bottom level. And this is our first trophic level, or our first level. And on this first level, we have all of the organisms that can make their own food. So we have producers, or autotrophs, and we said that they make their own food by, what's that process? Photosynthesis. So this first level, our first trophic level, is going to have all sorts of organisms that I am about to draw. Okay, so here we are, my lovely artwork. So grass, a sea plant, algae, a tree, another tree, flower, all of these are able to make their own food by photosynthesis. They don't all come from the same ecosystem. A sea plant comes from an aquatic ecosystem, whereas grass would come from a terrestrial or a land ecosystem. But we have all of these organisms that can make their own food. And the bulk, or the most amount of organisms, is going to be at this first trophic level. And most of the energy in a food pyramid, or an energy pyramid, is at the base. So most energy, or the greatest energy, is at the base of our pyramid. And each time a change or a trophic level happens, then you end up losing part of the energy to heat. So 90% of energy is, some people will say, lost. That's not really true. It's transferred, or transformed even, into heat energy. Because energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change forms. So let's say that I had 1,000 kilojoules, which is a unit of energy, I had 1,000 kilojoules of energy in this tree. And the next level up, on the second tropic level, I have primary means first, right? Primary consumers. And those primary consumers, you could also say primary heterotrophs, but they usually don't, are only going to eat what is below them in the energy pyramid. So that means they're only eating plants. Therefore, they are herbivores. And if this tree had 1,000 kilojoules of energy, and let's say that we had let's see if I can draw a giraffe. Not a very good giraffe, but there he goes. Let's put some spots on him so we'll know he's a giraffe. A giraffe. Let's say that giraffe ate the leaves off the tree. That giraffe's not going to get to pass on 1,000 kilojoules of energy, because 90% of that is going to be used up as waste and heat. And so what's left after 90% is gone? Well, 10%, right? So 10% of 1,000, I would just move my decimal over to the left one place, and I would have 100 kilojoules of energy on the second tropic level. Now, I just picked 1,000 because it's easy to move the decimal. I could have picked 200, and then this would have been 20. Okay, but 10% is all that is transferred to the next tropic level. And so we're going to see that if this is 1,000 and this is 100, 10% of 100 is going to be 10 kilojoules, and 10% of 10 is going to be 1 kilojoule. And so as we move up through these tropic levels, they're not getting as much energy. So they have to eat more matter, more organisms, than these down here do. Okay, so I'm going to draw some more primary consumers. Okay, so fabulous drawing here. We've got some insects and a rabbit and a giraffe we had already. We could draw some more. If I could draw more, I would. A mouse maybe, or whatever. But these are herbivores. They only eat the producers. So as we go up to the next tropic level, the third tropic level, we have, if these were primary and that meant first, well, we're going to have secondary consumers. And you might think, oh, those are all carnivores. Well, they could be. They definitely could be a carnivore, because they're going to eat whatever is underneath them on the energy pyramid. So they could eat just the primary consumers, and they would be carnivores. But what if they eat this and the plants? Then they could be omnivores. So they could be omnivores, and they could be carnivores. So I'm going to try to draw some things that would be omnivores and carnivores. Alright, so I've got a duck who eats plants and insects, so that makes it an omnivore. And then I could have a little fish that eats insects. And I don't think I had this in my other classes, but there's a fabulous little cat, and maybe the cat eats a rabbit. Okay, these two would be carnivores. Okay, so they're on the third tropic level, and they are carnivores. Then we move up to the top, and this is our fourth tropic level. And it's kind of hard to write all this in there, but I'll try to. These are tertiary, Tertiary, tertiary consumers. And most of the time, these are carnivores, but realize they eat anything that's below them in the energy pyramid. So they might be omnivores, and they might be carnivores. But this top level is where we have what we call apex predators, meaning there's not a whole lot of things that would be coming after them. So here we go. We're going to try a bear. All right, little bear. And if you don't know what it is, I write the word bear on it, so you will. So a bear is an apex predator. There's not a lot of things that are hunting that bear, except maybe humans. Humans consider themselves apex predators. Of course, we don't have claws and teeth and all that stuff to really shred things, but we have guns, and that's just, I guess, an equalizer. But a human, although it's considered an apex predator, if it's out in the forest with a bear and the bear eats the human, it's not really at the top, right? Same thing, if the human goes swimming in the ocean and a shark eats the human, he just thought he was the apex predator and he found out differently. Okay? Now, all of this, at any point, these can all die, and if they die, all of their energy at whatever level they're at, so if this one had 1 kilojoule or 10 or 100 or 1,000, all of that energy is given to decomposers when the organism dies. Right? And we know that fungus and bacteria are decomposers. And so I could draw, like an arrow from each level. It's not that the fungus and bacteria are actually at a certain level, because that can happen at any time. And so our energy pyramid, again, most of the energy is at the base. Also, most of the mass or most of the matter is at the base. You will have more producers or autotrophs than you will have herbivores. And you'll have more herbivores than you will have secondary consumers. And you'll have more secondary consumers than you will have tertiary consumers. So, energy pyramid. That's it.